Europe is scrambling to increase its defense expenditure, but for most of the NATO countries, the road to reaching the US president's 5% GDP limit seems tough. NATO defense ministers assembled in Brussels ahead of the Hague summit later this month. While there is broad agreement on increasing defense spending of all the NATO countries, they feel that reaching the goal of spending 5% of the GDP is tough. Meanwhile, US Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth is pushing hard on NATO to commit to 5% defense spending.
From France to Germany, to the Baltics, to the Nordic countries, to Poland, to Greece, to Hungary, to so many more, the commitment is there. 5% on defense spending. When you consider the threats that we face, the urgency in the world, it's critical. We don't need more flags. We need more fighting formations. We don't need more conferences. We need more capabilities. Hard power.
NATO Chief Mark Rutte said that NATO members should reach the 5% goal by 2032. Several NATO member states believe that it will be too late by then.
So first of all, defense investment pledge 2032 should be out of question. It's definitely too late. If we are able to do simple maths and we talk about Russia's ability to be ready, well, possibly to test NATO in just a few years, possibly 27, 28, 29, so 2032 is, well, most likely after the war. So we cannot talk about that.
So far, not a single NATO country spends 5% of the GDP on defense. Most countries are spending lower than 3%. Among the 32 NATO members, Poland spends the most, that is 4% of its GDP. Only Estonia and Lithuania have so far committed to spending 5% of the GDP on defense. But if all the 32 members are to agree to 5%, the question now is, where will the money come from? In the post-Cold War era, NATO countries in Europe redirected the defense spending to social welfare. Cutting through this peace dividend will mean less spending on social welfare, and this at a time when most countries are facing economic hardships. In the most recent elections in countries across Europe, the cost of living crisis has been the top priority, the top election issue. Several European countries are already dealing with EU-skeptic political movements. This, coupled with tariff war and the war in Ukraine, can make the path to 5% more difficult for Europe. The German economy is shrinking. The newly elected government, headed by Friedrich Merz, has announced a $567 billion investment plan for the ailing infrastructure over the next 12 years. Although it has increased defense spending under Merz, the country's defense minister has said that the United States' 5% demand for the NATO countries is unrealistic. The situation in Spain is also not inspiring. Pedro Sanchez's government will need to spend around 4 billion euros more a year to reach even 2% defense target. The Belgian government aims to accelerate defense spending by $4.2 billion in the coming months, and this will take the country's defense spending to 2% of the GDP. That is also far from the Trump's proposal of 5%. The NATO summit is slated to take place on the 25th of this month. Some 45 heads of state are expected to attend it. It will rather be interesting to see how governments across the continent strike a balance between rising political pressure and increasing defense spending.